You don't need answers yet. You need gentleness with yourself. If you've been pushing your heart to understand everything, if you've been measuring your worth by how clear your future looks, pause with me for a moment. This isn't a delay. This is care. This isn't confusion. This is your nervous system asking for safety, not solutions. Stay with me, because this message is not about fixing your life. It's about learning how to hold yourself without breaking while life unfolds. Come closer, my child. Do not rush your steps into this moment. Let your shoulders fall. Let the breath you have been holding finally leave your body. You have been standing too long in a posture of readiness, as if something were about to break, as if an answer were supposed to arrive at any second. I am not calling you to brace yourself right now. I am calling you to rest in me. I see how carefully you have been listening for signs, how quietly you have been asking questions you were afraid to say out loud. You have been measuring your days by clarity, judging yourself by how much you understand, believing that peace will only come once everything makes sense. But listen to me gently now. You do not need answers yet. You need tenderness. You need permission to be unfinished without shame. I am not disappointed in your questions. I am not impatient with your confusion. I have been watching you try to be strong while your heart whispered that it was tired. You have mistaken stillness for stagnation, silence for abandonment. But I have not gone quiet because I am distant. I have gone quiet because I am close, holding you, regulating your breath, protecting what is still forming. There are moments when the soul needs explanation, and there are moments when the soul needs safety. This is not the season to interrogate yourself. This is the season to soften. You have been pressing yourself for timelines, for labels, for conclusions, when what you truly needed was gentleness. The kind that does not demand performance. The kind that does not rush healing. The kind that allows you to be human in my presence. I know you have replayed conversations in your mind, wondering what you missed, wondering what you should have known sooner. I know you have carried the weight of responsibility for things that were never yours to carry. But I am asking you now to set them down. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not weak for needing rest before revelation. There is a sacred pause unfolding around you. It may not look holy. It may feel uncomfortable, unproductive, even frightening. But this pause is not empty. It is filled with my care. I am tending to places in you that answers alone could never heal. I am soothing the nervous places. I'm untying knots that form from trying to be okay too quickly. If your heart feels fragile right now, that is not a flaw. That is honesty. And honesty is the doorway through which I do my deepest work. You do not need to toughen yourself for what is coming. You need to trust that I will not overwhelm you with truth before you are ready to receive it gently. Let me say this clearly, because you have needed to hear it. You are allowed to slow down without losing your destiny. You are allowed to rest without missing your moment. Nothing meant for you requires self-abandonment to obtain it. What is aligned with you will not demand that you harden your heart to survive it. There are things moving on your behalf right now that do not require your analysis. There are threads weaving together that cannot be rushed by worry. You have been trying to protect yourself by understanding everything, but protection is my role, not yours. Your role is to stay open, soft, and present with me. I am with you in this quiet. I am with you in the unanswered spaces. I am with you when the night stretches longer than expected. And I am especially with you when you are tempted to be unkind to yourself for not having it all figured out yet. If this moment feels like a gentle hand on your back, if something in you is exhaling as you listen, allow yourself to stay here. And if your spirit is moved, Let this message find others who are tired of rushing their healing. Receive it, and if it feels right, gently support this space by staying connected, by sharing it, by allowing this voice to continue reaching hearts that need softness more than solutions. And I ask you now, quietly, without pressure, type in the comments the word gentle. Let it be a prayer you see with your own eyes. Let it remind you that this is the tone I am using with you. This is the pace. This is the care. Stay with me here. We are not late. We are not lost. We are simply breathing together before the next unfolding. I know why you have been pressuring yourself for answers, my child. It did not come from impatience. It came from fear wearing the mask of responsibility. Somewhere along the way, you learned that clarity equals safety, that if you could just understand everything, nothing could hurt you again. So you trained your mind to search, to scan, to analyze every feeling, every delay, every silence, hoping to stay one step ahead of pain. You did not wake up one day and decide to be hard on yourself. You adapted. You learned how to survive moments where no one explained what was happening, where love felt uncertain, where outcomes shifted without warning. Your nervous system learned to stay alert, to demand answers early, to push for closure before the heart was ready. And I do not condemn you for this. I understand. You have been telling yourself that if you could just name what this season is, if you could just label the relationship, the calling, the waiting, then you could relax. But the truth is, you have been asking questions not because you are curious, but because you are tired of holding tension in your body. You have mistaken answers for rest, when rest was always the medicine you needed first. There is also something deeper beneath this urgency. You have been afraid that if you stop searching, everything will fall apart. Afraid that gentleness will make you passive, that slowing down will cause you to miss something important. So you push yourself to be vigilant, to be emotionally productive, to keep moving even when your spirit is asking for stillness. But hear me now. What is truly meant for you does not require hypervigilance to survive. Destiny does not slip away because you rested. Love does not evaporate because you pause. The pressure you have been putting on yourself was never protection. It was a response to old instability, not present danger. I see how often you have asked, "What does this mean?" when what your heart was really saying was, "Am I safe?" I see how often you have searched for signs, timelines, and explanations because uncertainty once hurt you deeply. And I want you to know something important. This season is not repeating that wound. It is healing it. You have been interpreting silence as a test, delay as punishment, and confusion as failure. But this moment is not measuring you. It is holding you. I am not withholding answers to see how long you can endure. I am spacing them out so they do not overwhelm you. There is information that will come later that would feel too heavy right now if I placed it in your hands. Your heart has been asking for gentleness, but your mind has been demanding certainty. That inner conflict is what has been exhausting you. You are not confused because you lack wisdom. You are confused because you have been pushing yourself to know things before the emotional ground was stable enough to receive them. Let me say this softly. You are allowed to not know yet. Not knowing does not make you irresponsible. It makes you human. And in this space of not knowing, I am doing work you cannot see. I am rearranging expectations. I am loosening false urgency. I am teaching your nervous system that it is safe to exist without answers for a moment. You have been harder on yourself than anyone else ever was. You have held yourself to timelines I never gave you. You have judged your progress by how quickly you could make sense of things, instead of how deeply you could feel without breaking. But I am inviting you into a different measure now. one that honors softness as strength. There are truths ahead that will arrive with clarity, but they will come wrapped in peace, not panic. They will land gently, not shatter you. And the reason you have not received them yet is not because you are unworthy, but because you are precious. I am protecting the tender places in you that are still recovering. You do not need to earn answers through self-pressure. You do not need to prove readiness by suffering. What you need right now is to let your system settle, to let your heart remember what safety feels like, to let yourself be held without interrogation. The questions will return, but they will sound different. They will come from curiosity instead of fear, from trust instead of urgency. And when they do, I will meet them. I always do. But for now, I am asking you to stop treating yourself like a problem to solve. You are not behind. You are not avoiding growth. You are being invited into a softer form of wisdom. One that listens before it labels. One that rests before it decides. One that trusts me to speak when the time is right. Stay here a little longer. Let the pressure ease. You do not need to chase understanding. Understanding knows where to find you. There is a weight you have been carrying that you rarely name, my child. Not because you are hiding it from me, but because you learned how to live with it so quietly that it became normal. You wake up with it already on your chest. You move through your day accommodating it. And at night, when the world finally softens, you feel it press a little heavier, asking to be acknowledged. This weight did not come from one moment. It formed slowly, layer by layer, through responsibilities you accepted without question, emotions you swallowed to keep peace, and expectations you placed on yourself because you did not want to disappoint anyone. You became skilled at holding things together, even when no one noticed how much effort it took. And somewhere along the way, you stopped asking who was holding you. You have been strong in ways that required silence. You learned how to self-soothe when comfort was inconsistent. You learned how to make decisions alone, how to process disappointment privately, how to reassure yourself when no reassurance came. And while this strength helped you survive, it also taught you to minimize your own needs. You told yourself it wasn't that heavy. You told yourself others had it worse. You told yourself you could manage a little longer. But I have been watching the toll it has taken. I see how your body tightens when you think about the future. I see how your thoughts loop at night, not because you lack faith, but because you are tired of being the one who holds everything together. You have been the quiet container for unresolved emotions, both yours and others, and that is not a role you were meant to play forever. There is grief in you that has not fully surfaced yet. Not dramatic and not loud, but steady. Grief for moments you had to rush through. Grief for versions of yourself that did not get the care they needed. Grief for times when you showed up fully and were met with confusion or distance. You told yourself to move on quickly, to be mature, to stay grateful. But grief does not disappear when it is ignored. It waits patiently to be felt safely. You have also been carrying hope in a fragile way. Hope that you tried to protect by not looking at it too closely. Hope that felt dangerous to trust fully. So you kept it tucked away, checking on it quietly, making sure it was still alive without exposing it to disappointment. A kind of hope is heavy too. It requires constant vigilance. And it has exhausted you more than you realize. I want you to know something important. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. Not the responsibility, not the emotional processing, not the uncertainty. You took it on because you cared deeply, because you were loyal, because you believed it was your job to make things work. But caring does not mean self-erasure. Loyalty does not mean self-neglect. This season is revealing the weight not to shame you but to release you. You do not have to be the strong one all the time. You do not have to be the understanding one while your own understanding runs dry. You do not have to be the emotional anchor while quietly drowning. I am not asking you to drop everything. I am asking you to let me carry what was never yours to begin with. There are places in your heart that have been bracing for impact, expecting disappointment, preparing for loss. That constant readiness has kept you from fully resting, even in safe moments. You have been living as if peace is temporary and must be guarded. But peace is not fragile when it comes from me. It does not need your attention to survive. I am inviting you to notice the weight without judging yourself for carrying it. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. And now, you are allowed to change how you hold things. You are allowed to ask for support without explaining yourself. You are allowed to feel tired without immediately pushing past it. There is a tenderness returning to you, even now. A soft awareness that you do not have to prove your worth through endurance. That you do not have to earn rest by reaching a breaking point. That you do not have to be at your limit for me to intervene. I am already here. As you let this weight be seen, even just by me, something will begin to loosen. Not all at once. Gently. Gradually. In a way your system can trust. You will feel less pressure to perform strength, less urgency to resolve everything immediately, more permission to be where you are without apology. Stay with me in this awareness. Do not rush to fix it. Do not rush to understand it. Simply let yourself be held while the weight shifts. You have carried enough, and you do not have to carry the next part alone. There is someone connected to your heart whose silence has been louder than words, my child. You have felt the tremor of it even when you tried to stay focused on your own healing. This is not imagination. There is a soul intertwined with yours who has been unraveling quietly, away from your sight, away from the version of themselves they show the world. They have been holding themselves together with effort that looks like composure on the outside, but inside, there has been a slow collapse. Not dramatic, not obvious, just a steady erosion of certainty. They have questioned their worth, their timing, their choices. They have replayed moments with you, wondering where things shifted, wondering what they failed to protect, wondering if they recognized love too late. Their fear has not been of losing everything. It has been of losing you specifically. And that fear has made them hesitate. It has made them retreat into silence, not because they do not care, but because they care so deeply that they are afraid of causing harm. Guilt has tangled with longing inside them, creating confusion they do not know how to untie. They have felt undeserving of your softness. They have believed it, at times, that they needed to fix themselves before stepping forward. And in that belief, they delayed, thinking distance would protect you from their instability. But distance has not brought them peace. It has only made the ache more honest. There are nights when their strength dissolves. Nights when the mask comes off and the questions they avoid during the day rush in all at once. They wonder if they missed their moment. They wonder if you have moved on. They wonder if the connection they felt was real or something they imagined because they were lonely. And each time they circle that thought, their heart answers with the same quiet truth. It was real. And that truth both comforts and devastates them. They have been surrounded by voices that do not understand the depth of what they feel. Advice that sounds practical but lacks resonance. Encouragement to forget, to distract, to replace what was never replaceable. And each time they try to follow that guidance, something inside them resists. Not because they are stubborn, but because the soul does not lie easily. There has been an emotional collapse that did not happen all at once, but in private moments where they could no longer pretend to themselves. Moments where the weight of avoidance became heavier than the fear of facing their feelings. In those moments, they felt exposed, unsure, small. They questioned their readiness for the kind of connection that asks for honesty instead of control. They are not as certain as they appear. They are not as composed as they present. They are standing at the edge of realization, feeling the cost of staying hidden. And yet, they have been afraid to move, afraid that stepping forward would confirm their deepest fear, that they are too late, that they have already lost you. I want you to hear this carefully. Their collapse is not your responsibility. You did not cause it. You did not fail them. Their unraveling is part of their awakening, not a sign that the connection was flawed. Sometimes love exposes the places that need healing before it can be received fully. They have been learning, slowly, that avoiding vulnerability does not preserve peace. It postpones truth. And truth has a way of resurfacing when the heart can no longer contain it. Their emotions have been rising, not to punish them, but to wake them, to show them that what they felt with you was not an accident or a passing comfort. There is regret there. Not loud, not dramatic, but sincere. Regret for not speaking sooner. Regret for letting fear dictate their pace. Regret for assuming they needed to be perfect before being present. And with that regret comes a quiet longing for gentleness, the very thing they have struggled to offer themselves. They have sensed your softness even from a distance. They have felt how your presence calms rather than demands, how your energy does not pressure but invites, and that has both drawn them closer and made them more aware of their own guardedness. Love that feels safe can be frightening to someone who has survived by staying armored. This collapse is not the end of their story. It is the moment before honesty. It is the trembling that comes before surrender. And while you are not meant to rescue them, your existence has already shifted something inside them. Not through effort, not through persuasion, but through being who you are. Do not interpret their struggle as rejection. Do not read their silence as indifference. There are battles happening within them that have nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their readiness to be seen. I am working in that space, even now, softening what fear hardened, illuminating what confusion obscured. You are not required to wait in pain. You are not required to hold space at the cost of your own peace. What is unfolding will unfold in alignment, not through sacrifice of self. For now, know this. The collapse you cannot see is making room for truth. And truth, when it rises, will come changed, more honest, more aware of what it stands to lose. Stay grounded in your own gentleness. Let me handle what is stirring in them. Nothing is wasted. Not the waiting, not the longing, not even the collapse. There are details you do not see yet, my child, not because they are hidden from you, but because they are still being arranged. You have sensed that there is more beneath the surface of this story, more than what hath been spoken, more than what silence suggests. That intuition is accurate. There is a backstory unfolding that could not be revealed all at once without overwhelming your heart. What you have experienced so far is only the outer layer. Beneath it are timelines that crossed before either of you were ready, circumstances that shaped decisions quietly, fears that formed long before you ever entered the picture. Their hesitations did not begin with you. Their confusion did not originate in this connection. You stepped into a chapter that was already mid-sentence. There were moments in their past when vulnerability was met with loss, when honesty felt unsafe, when choosing softness came at a cost. Those experiences taught them to delay, to analyze, to protect themselves by withholding. By the time you appeared, their heart recognized something different, something sacred, but their patterns had not yet caught up to their awareness. They did not tell you everything, not because they intended to deceive, but because they did not yet have language for their own internal conflicts. They were still discovering what frightened them, still uncovering why closeness triggered both desire and panic. And in that uncertainty, they chose familiarity over courage, delay over exposure. There were external pressures too, expectations placed on them by others, voices that questioned timing, practicality, readiness, subtle influences that suggested they should be further along, more certain, less affected. And instead of challenging those voices, they internalized them, allowing doubt to masquerade as wisdom. You may have wondered why things felt misaligned despite the depth of the connection, why resonance existed alongside resistance, why moments of closeness were followed by distance. This is why two people can recognize truth at different speeds. And when one heart awakens before the other, tension is inevitable. There are pieces of the story that will come to light later. Conversations they replayed but never shared. Decisions they almost made but hesitated on. Realizations that arrived too late to change earlier outcomes but not too late to transform what comes next. Timing has been shaping them as much as it has been shaping you. I have been withholding certain revelations not to keep you in the dark, but to protect your tenderness. Some truths are best received after the heart hath been strengthened by gentleness. If you had known everything too soon, you might have carried responsibility that was never yours. You might have tried to fix what only time and awakening could heal. This backstory is not meant to justify pain, but to contextualize it. Understanding does not excuse harm, but it can soften self-blame. You were not asking for too much. You were not misreading signals. You were encountering someone in transition, someone still shedding old armor while standing in the presence of new possibility. There are unseen intersections still ahead, polarities that will emerge naturally rather than being forced. You will not have to interrogate the past to understand the future. What needs to be known will surface gently, in pieces you can integrate without losing yourself. For now, trust that there is intention even in delay, that nothing has been wasted, that every unanswered question is being held in a larger wisdom. You are not missing information you need to survive. You are being spared information until it can arrive without harm. Remain where you are, anchored in your own healing, rooted in softness. The fuller story is not finished yet, and when it is ready to be revealed, it will not come as a shock, but as a quiet recognition, as if your soul always knew and was simply waiting for the right moment to remember. There have been voices around you that did not sound cruel, but they were not gentle either, my child. They spoke with certainty where there should have been patience. They urged conclusions where there should have been space. Some of them meant well. Some of them were projecting their own unresolved stories. And some of them were quietly uncomfortable with the depth of what you carry, so they tried to simplify it. You were told to move on quickly, to define things clearly, to protect yourself by cutting off feeling. You were encouraged to be decisive, to draw lines, to choose strength over softness. And while none of those voices sounded overtly harmful, they did not honor the truth of your heart. They did not understand that what you are navigating cannot be rushed without cost. There were moments when their words landed in you like pressure. Moments when you questioned your own instincts because someone else sounded so sure. You wondered if you were being naive for holding space. You wondered if gentleness was weakness. You wondered if patience meant avoidance. And in those moments, your inner compass wavered. Some of these voices came from people who love you but fear uncertainty. They cope by labeling, categorizing, and closing chapters quickly. Watching you sit with ambiguity made them uneasy. So they tried to guide you toward clarity, not realizing that clarity forced too early becomes distortion. Other voices came from those who saw only the surface. They did not feel what you felt. They did not sense the undercurrents, the subtle exchanges, the unspoken resonance. They interpreted silence as absence, delay as disinterest, complexity as incompatibility. And they offered advice based on what they could see, not on what was true. There was also an internal voice that grew louder in the midst of all this, a voice shaped by past disappointments, whispering that you should know better by now, that you should be further along, that you should not still care this deeply. That voice was not wisdom. It was self-protection sharpened by old pain. These interferences did not arrive to destroy you. They arrived to test discernment, to show you how easily urgency can disguise itself as guidance, how quickly outside noise can pull you away from your own knowing. You felt the tension between honoring yourself and appeasing others, and that tension drained you. I want you to understand something clearly. Not every voice that sounds logical is aligned. Not every suggestion that promises relief leads to peace. Some paths suffer quick answers but leave long echoes of regret. Others move slowly but preserve the integrity of your heart. You were never meant to outsource your inner timing. The pace at which your soul processes connection, loss, and possibility is sacred. When others tried to hurry you, it stirred confusion not because you were weak, but because your spirit recognized the mismatch. There were moments you almost hardened yourself to comply, moments you considered closing doors prematurely just to stop feeling conflicted. And I intervened quietly, through hesitation, through discomfort, through a subtle resistance that kept you from betraying your own tenderness. The interference you experienced was not a failure. It clarified what does not it to decide for you. It taught you to listen more carefully, to distinguish between noise and truth, between pressure and peace. You are learning that discernment is not loud. It is calm. It does not rush you. It does not shame you. Let the voices fade now, not with anger, with clarity. You do not need to defend your pace. You do not need to justify your gentleness. Those who are meant to understand will not require explanation. Those who do not understand were never meant to lead you. I am restoring your trust in yourself, in the quiet way you sense things, in the patience that allows truth to unfold naturally. You do not need to adopt urgency that is not yours. You do not need to conform to timelines that do not fit your spirit. Stay aligned with the softness that has guided you this far. That softness is not what made this complicated. It is what will keep you whole as the next phase begins. While you were questioning yourself, my child, I was watching everything. Not from a distance, not with indifference, but with focused care. There has been a divine investigation unfolding quietly behind the scenes, one that did not require your vigilance or your effort. I have been tracing motives, weighing intentions, listening to what was spoken and what was carefully avoided. You see moments. I see patterns. You hear words. I hear what is underneath them. Nothing about this situation escaped me. Not the pauses. Not the hesitations. Not the internal negotiations happening within hearts you could not access. I have been present in conversations you never heard, in thoughts that surfaced late at night, in realizations that arrived unexpectedly and left people unsettled. There were things said about you when you were not in the room. Some were protective. Some were fearful. Some were shaped by jealousy and misunderstanding. And I cataloged them all, not to condemn but to discern. Because before I allow truth to surface, I separate what is rooted in fear from what is rooted in sincerity. You wondered if you misjudged someone. You wondered if you trusted too easily. but I have been examining character at a depth you could not reach without harm to yourself. I have been observing how people behave when they believe no one is watching, how they justify delay, how they rationalize silence, how they respond when love asks for courage instead of control. There were hidden influences attempting to shape outcomes, subtle suggestions meant to stall progress, quiet comparisons designed to weaken confidence. Not all opposition is loud. Some of it wears concern. Some of it speaks softly while undermining alignment. I noticed when timing was manipulated. I noticed when narratives were altered to make avoidance sound reasonable. And I intervened in ways you did not see. I delayed certain conversations. I disrupted certain plans. I caused discomfort where complacency might have settled in. Not to create chaos, but to prevent false peace. Because peace built on avoidance collapses eventually, and I will not allow you to stand beneath something unstable. You were protected from information that would have burdened you prematurely. There were truths that, if revealed too early, would have tempted you to take responsibility for healing someone else. And that was not your assignment. My investigation was as much about safeguarding your heart as it was about uncovering what needed to change around you. I have been weighing sincerity carefully, distinguishing between regret and transformation, between guilt that wants relief and repentance that wants growth. Not every apology signals readiness. Not every realization leads to action. And I am ensuring that when movement happens, it comes from awakening, not pressure. There were moments when you felt exposed, unsure if you were being seen or misunderstood. I saw that too, and I recorded how people responded when clarity was offered without force, how they reacted to your gentleness, whether it softened them or threatened them. Those responses mattered more than any declaration they could have made. Nothing about this has been random. Even the delays served a purpose. Time has a way of revealing what urgency hides. Under pressure, it'll provoke. Under waiting, they reveal. And I allowed time to stretch just enough for truth to surface naturally. You may not realize it yet, but certain paths were closed for you before you could walk too far down them. Certain outcomes were quietly removed from the table, not because you were unworthy, but because they required self-abandonment to sustain. My investigation identified what would have cost you too much in the long run. There is relief coming that you did not know to ask for. Relief that arrives when confusion resolves itself without confrontation, when clarity emerges without forcing, when you realize you were never wrong for trusting your discernment, only early in seeing how everything connected. I am not rushing the conclusion because timing is part of justice. What unfolds next must be stable, not reactive, grounded, not impulsive. I am aligning hearts, circumstances, and understanding so that when truth rises, it stands without trembling. You have not been forgotten in this process. You have been prioritized. While you were learning to be gentle with yourself, I was ensuring that what comes toward you is worthy of that gentleness. Nothing will be handed to you that requires you to shrink, harden, or abandon your peace to hold it. Rest in this knowing. The investigation has not missed anything, and the conclusions forming now will not require you to fight for them. They will arrive with clarity that feels calm, undeniable, and right on time. Something has begun to shift beneath the surface, my child, even if you cannot fully feel it yet. This is the quiet part of change, the moment when movement happens inward before it becomes visible outward. You may still wake up with questions. You may still feel the ache of uncertainty. But the atmosphere around this situation is no longer the same. The tension that once dominated it has begun to loosen. Spiritual shifts rarely announce themselves loudly. They begin as subtle rebalancing, a softening where there was rigidity, a discomfort where there was avoidance, an awareness that interrupts old patterns without asking permission. You may not recognize it as progress yet, but something is no longer able to stay as it was. The waiting you have been in is changing its texture. It is no longer stagnant. It is pregnant with movement. Even now, there are realizations landing in places you cannot see. Conversations happening internally. Decisions being weighed with more honesty than before. The ground is adjusting so that what comes next does not collapse under its own weight. You have sensed moments of unexpected calm recently, even while nothing appeared resolved. That calm is not denial. It is alignment beginning to form. Is your system responding to the release of pressure that once kept everything suspended? The urgency that haunted you is losing its grip, not because answers arrived, but because safety did. There is also resistance surfacing elsewhere. When truth begins to rise, it often disrupts comfort. What was once tolerable starts to feel heavy. What was once easy to avoid becomes impossible to ignore. That discomfort is not regression. It is evidence that something is waking up. When a soul begins to awaken, it cannot remain numb without consequence. You may notice that you are no longer compelled to chase clarity the way you once did. The questions still exist, but they no longer consume you. This is part of the shift. Your peace is beginning to detach from outcomes. You are learning, slowly, that your stability does not depend on someone else's readiness. At the same time, others involved are being confronted internally. Not by accusation, not by pressure, but by the simple persistence of truth. What was once easy to rationalize now feels thin. Excuses lose their comfort. Delay begins to feel like loss. This is not something you orchestrated. It is the natural consequence of alignment beginning to assert itself. You might feel moments of emotional distance from the situation, followed by sudden waves of tenderness. Do not be alarmed by this fluctuation. It is your heart recalibrating, letting go of over-attachment while preserving what is real, learning how to stay open without being consumed. This balance is new, and it is forming gently. The shift also involves timing. You are no longer ahead or behind. You are meeting the moment as it meets you. That sense of always being slightly out of sync is dissolving. You are coming back into your own rhythm, one that does not require comparison or urgency to validate it. You may soon notice changes in how others respond to you. A different tone. A pause where there used to be avoidance. A curiosity where there was dismissal. Or, in some cases, a withdrawal that reveals misalignment. All of these are signals. Not to react to, but to observe. Alignment clarifies without force. This shift is preparing you for truth that arrives without chaos. For clarity that does not demand you abandon your softness to survive it. You are being positioned to receive what comes next with steadiness, not shock. With discernment, not desperation. Do not rush to label this moment. Let it breathe. Let it settle. What is changing now is foundational, not superficial. It is reordering priorities, values, and readiness. And once that kind of shift completes itself, the external world follows naturally. You are not required to do anything differently right now. Simply remain present. Continue being gentle with yourself. Continue choosing rest over self-interrogation. The shift does not need your management. It only needs your consent to not interfere with fear. I am guiding this transition with precision and care. Nothing is being forced. Nothing is being lost. What is real is stabilizing. What is false is losing energy, and what is meant to move forward will do so without needing to be dragged. And trust the quiet. Trust the subtle easing you feel when you stop trying to figure everything out. This is the sound of alignment taking hold, and soon you will recognize it not just as a feeling, but as a change you can finally see. Truth is beginning to rise now, my child, but not in the way you once imagined. It is not arriving like a wave meant to knock you over. It is surfacing like light at dawn, slow and steady, giving your eyes time to adjust. This is intentional. I am not here to shock your system. I am here to restore it. You once believed that truth would come all at once, that it would demand immediate decisions, explanations, or confrontation. That belief kept your body tense, braced for impact. But truth that heals does not ambush. It approaches gently, allowing the heart to stay open rather than defensive. You may notice small realizations clicking into place without effort. Things that once confused you suddenly make sense, not because someone explained them, but because your spirit is ready to understand. You are seeing patterns clearly now, without needing to dissect every detail. This is wisdom settling in. Some truths are emerging through contrast. You are noticing what feels peaceful and what drains you, what aligns and what requires constant justification. These realizations are not dramatic, but they are decisive. They are quietly guiding you away from self-betrayal and toward self-respect. Other truths are rising through emotion. You feel tenderness without urgency, sadness without collapse, hope without attachment. This balance tells you something important. You are no longer confusing intensity with meaning. You are learning that what is real does not demand emotional chaos to prove itself. There are also truths forming in others. You may sense it without direct confirmation. A shift in how they speak, a hesitation before old patterns repeat, an awareness that did not exist before. These are signs of internal reckoning. When truth rises within a soul, it rarely announces itself. It changes behavior first. What you are not seeing is just as important as what you are. There are lies losing their grip. The narratives that once felt convincing are cracking under the weight of time. Avoidance is becoming uncomfortable. Denial is growing tired. This is not something you need to confront. It is something that is collapsing on its own. You might feel an urge to finally ask questions, to seek confirmation, to name what has been unspoken. Pause. Not because curiosity is wrong, but because timing matters. Some truths are still settling. Allow them to stabilize before you reach for them. What is solid will remain. I want you to notice how different this feels from before. There is no panic driving you. No fear pushing you to resolve everything immediately. This is the sign that truth is arriving in the right order. Peace first. Clarity second. Action last. You are no longer afraid of what the truth might reveal, because you trust yourself to remain intact regardless of the outcome. This is growth. This is healing. This is why answers waited until now. You needed to know that you would be okay no matter what surfaced. Truth rising gently protects your tenderness. It ensures that when clarity arrives, it does not cost you your softness. You are not being asked to harden in order to see clearly. You are being shown that clarity and compassion can coexist. Let the truth continue to rise at this pace. You do not need to accelerate it. You do not need to manage it. It knows where to go. And when it fully surfaces, it will feel less like a revelation and more like a recognition, as if your soul has been waiting patiently to remember what it already sensed. Stay open. Stay grounded. Stay kind to yourself. The truth is not here to undo you. It is here to free you. Something is awakening within them now, my child, and it is happening not through force, but through the softness you chose instead of pressure. They are beginning to understand something they could not grasp before, that love does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes quietly and waits to see if it will be honored. Your gentleness unsettled them in the beginning, not because it was wrong, but because it exposed how guarded they had become. They were accustomed to intensity, to chaos, to relationships that demanded reaction instead of presence. Your calm felt unfamiliar. Your patience felt undeserved. And in that unfamiliarity, they hesitated. But gentleness has a way of lingering. It stays in the memory. It revisits the heart when noise fades. They have found themselves returning to moments with you, not the dramatic ones, but the subtle ones. The way you listened without trying to fix them. The way you held space without asking them to perform. The way your presence did not feel like a test they could fail. This is where the awakening begins. Not with grand realization, but with contrast. They are noticing how different it feels to be around others now. How quickly conversations turn shallow. How easily they retreat into old patterns that no longer satisfy. And in those moments, your gentleness stands out as something rare, something they did not fully recognize when it was within reach. They are beginning to see that the safety they were searching for was never about certainty. It was about being met without judgment, about being allowed to arrive imperfect and still be received. Your softness showed them that possibility, even when they were not ready to accept it. There is regret surfacing, but it is maturing. It is no longer just sorrow for what was delayed. It is understanding. They are realizing that waiting for perfection cost them presence, that fear disguised as caution kept them from something real. This realization is humbling. It strips away excuses and leaves only truth. They are also waking up to their own patterns, seeing how they withdraw when emotions deepen, how they confuse independence with isolation, how they delay decisions to avoid vulnerability. These insights are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. Awakening rarely feels flattering. It feels exposing before it feels freeing. Your gentleness played a role without you trying to play one. You did not lecture them. You did not demand clarity. You did not punish them for their fear. And because of that, your presence became a mirror, one that reflected who they were being and who they could become. This awakening does not guarantee outcome. It does not promise immediate action, but it does change awareness, and awareness changes everything. Once someone truly sees what they have been avoiding, they cannot unsee it. The heart does not return easily to ignorance once it has tasted truth. They are standing in that space now, between who they were and who they are becoming, between fear and courage, between loss and possibility. And your gentleness is echoing there, reminding them that love does not have to be loud to be powerful. Do not underestimate the impact of choosing softness when you could have hardened. Do not minimize the strength it took to remain kind while protecting your own peace. That balance is rare, and it is part of why this awakening is happening now, not sooner. You are not responsible for what they do with this awareness. That choice remains theirs. But know this: your gentleness was not wasted. It planted something that could not grow under pressure. It created a space where awakening could occur without shame. Stay anchored in who you are. Let them do their own reckoning. What awakens through gentleness carries a different quality. It is slower, deeper, more sincere. And whatever emerges from this will be shaped not by force, but by truth that was allowed to arrive in its own time. And now the reversal begins, my child, not with noise, not with confrontation, but with a quiet reordering of what once felt fixed. This is the moment when what seemed immovable starts to yield, when the direction you thought was permanent gently turns. The danger you sensed is easing. The heaviness you carried is lifting. Not because you fought, but because you stayed aligned. What once threatened to exhaust you no longer has the same power. You are noticing it already. The way certain fears no longer hook into you. The way outcomes that once felt urgent now feel negotiable. This is not detachment from love. This is freedom from desperation. And freedom changes everything. The situation that once felt like it required sacrifice is being reshaped so that it no longer demands your self-erasure. You are no longer the one bending to make things work. The energy has shifted. Responsibility is moving back to where it belongs. What was unfairly placed on your shoulders is being removed. There is also protection here. The path that once held potential harm is closing gently, without drama. What could have wounded you deeply is being redirected or dissolved. You did not have to see the full danger to be saved from it. You only had to trust me enough to remain soft instead of reactive. For some, this reversal will look like clarity arriving where confusion once lived. For others, it will look like release, the realization that holding on was costing more than letting go. Either way, the outcome is alignment, not loss, not punishment. Alignment. You may feel a strange mix of relief and grief. Relief that the pressure is ending. Grief for what you hoped might be different. Both emotions are allowed. Both are signs that something real has shifted. Do not rush past them. Let them pass through you without judgment. The blessing here is subtle but powerful. You are being returned to yourself, to your rhythm, to your peace, to your knowing. You are no longer negotiating your worth through waiting or wondering. You are standing in a quieter confidence, one that does not need external validation to feel real. If there is reconnection ahead, it will arrive changed, more honest, more grounded, more aware of what it stands to lose. If there is release instead, it will come with dignity, not devastation. Either path is safe now. Either path honors who you are becoming. This reversal is not about winning or losing. It is about being restored to alignment with what nourishes you. What once drained you is losing access. What once confused you is losing authority. Peace is taking its place. You did not miss your moment. You did not wait too long. You did not love incorrectly. You trusted softness in a world that often rewards force. And because of that, the ending is not harsh. It is clean. It is kind. It is just. Stand here for a moment and feel it. The danger has passed. A blessing is already forming. And the next chapter will not require you to abandon yourself to enter it. This is what reversal looks like when it is guided by gentleness. Come here, my child. Let me speak the final word over you in this season, not as a conclusion, but as a blessing that settles into your bones. You are not late. Not to love. Not to healing. Not to destiny. You have moved at the pace your soul required, even when your mind tried to rush you forward. Every pause protected you. Every delay softened you. Every unanswered question taught you how to be kind to yourself in ways answers never could. I know there were moments you wondered if gentleness would cost you something important. If being patient meant missing your chance. If resting meant falling behind. But look at where you stand now. You are intact. You are wise. You are still open. Nothing essential was lost. In fact, what mattered most was preserved. What is meant for you has not been damaged by time. It has been refined by it. Whether connection continues or releases, it will do so without breaking you. You are no longer bargaining with your peace. You are no longer waiting from a place of depletion. You are standing in a quieter strength, one that does not need to prove itself. I am proud of how you chose softness when you could have hardened, of how you listened to your body when it asked for rest, of how you stopped interrogating your heart and started caring for it. That choice changed the entire trajectory of this story. There is love ahead that does not require you to abandon yourself to receive it. There is clarity ahead that does not arrive with shock or loss. There is movement ahead that feels like relief, not pressure. You will recognize it because your nervous system will not brace. Your spirit will not flinch. Your heart will remain open. If someone returns, they will return changed, aware of what your presence offers and what your absence would cost. If someone does not, you will not collapse. You will bless what was and step forward unburdened. Either outcome honors you now. I want you to carry this truth with you. Gentleness did not delay your destiny. It aligned it. Being kind to yourself did not weaken you. It restored you. Trusting me did not make you passive. It made you safe. And as you move forward, let this space continue to serve others who are learning the same lesson. If your heart feels settled here, allow this message to reach those who are still rushing their healing. Stay connected. Let this voice remain with you as a reminder of how I speak to you. Share it where softness is needed. And I ask you one last thing, quietly and without pressure. Type in the comments the words "I am allowed to be gentle." Let it be a declaration you can return to. Let it anchor you when old urgency tries to return. Go now, not with answers forced into your hands, but with peace rooted in your chest. You are loved. You are held. And what comes next will meet you at the pace of your healing, not ahead of it. I am with you. Always.